Okay, you're right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use positive and negative shape. All right, and this is going to help you with proportion. So all you're going to do today is draw the negative shapes. All right, so a negative shape is something, or is the space that is not the actual object. Okay, so this pencil is the positive shape, and everything around the edge here, or this space, okay, this here, all right, is the negative space. So with this viewfinder, which you've all got one on your table, all right, this viewfinder here, the actual viewfinder is all positive. All right, however, the hole in between, because it goes right through, I could put my hand through it, that there becomes, or is, the negative shape, as is all this space around the edge. Okay, so it's the same with my hand. Okay, if I draw around my hand now, okay, all of this here is a negative shape, and my hand is the positive. Now, if you look at these negative shapes, you'll see, right, that line there and this curve here, okay, is a bit of a dome, if you want. All right, that there is a triangle. Okay, that triangle is a lot easier to draw because you can look at the angle. All right, you can look at whether it's an acute or an obtuse angle, and you can decide whether that's 10 degrees, 20 degrees, etc. So if I move my finger closer together here, okay, then that angle there will be a lot less than this angle here. So it helps you use your mathematical skills, okay, to draw those shapes in. More often than not, this shape here, and this one, and this one, and this one, okay, they are a lot easier to draw than the actual hand, the full hand. All right, so you would start off by drawing these shapes, these negative shapes, okay, just with simple lines. And once you've got those negative shapes in, and you're happy with the distance from this negative shape to this negative shape, okay, then you'll start to actually put in your positives. All right, so that's why it's really important that we understand positive and negative shapes. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to use our viewfinders. All right, so first of all, what I would like you to do is just simply get 2 pens. They're really simple, okay, they're just 2 lines. All right, so I've got 2 pens here. I'm not going to draw this bit that's been chewed off. All right, and you're going to put them on your table. Okay, you can put them on your book like I've done. Okay, and you're just going to lay them down. And then you're going to put your viewfinder, okay, over the top. If everyone does that now, it doesn't matter whether you copy me or whether you change the angle a little bit more, right? Doesn't matter, okay? So that's all I'm asking you to do. All right, once you've done that, I want you to identify how many negative shapes there are. So I can see 2 positive shapes, and I want you to spot how many negative shapes you can see. So for me, I can see 3 negative shapes. All right, this is very difficult to get your head around, so don't panic too much if you've not understood that completely. Okay, this rectangle here, okay, that is 1 negative shape. Okay, this kind of skewy triangle, okay, if you carried that line off, it would be a triangle. Okay, it's more like a skewy square, I guess. That is negative shape number 2. And then this one here is negative shape number 3. So you've got a pen and a pen here. They are your positive shapes. All right. So what you're now going to do, okay, on your page, all right, you've written your learning intention, you've written your target for the lesson. Okay, so using your viewfinder, First of all, I would like you to place your viewfinder on your empty page, and I just want you, so you can do this right now, I just want you to draw that rectangle that's inside your viewfinder, and I'd like to draw it 3 times. So if you just copy what I'm doing, you don't need to press on too hard, by the way. And then 1 here. Try and make it all nice and even. So 1 under the other, for example. Presentation in art is absolutely key. Okay. So what you're now going to do is, I'll do this whilst I'm on screen with you so you can see what I'm doing. Is you're going to put those pens, okay, you'll put those pens in exactly the same position as you just had them, or slightly different, doesn't really matter. Okay. And what you're now going to do is you're not going to draw the positive shapes, so these pens here. But inside of this first box, so I'll put a number 1 here. All right, this is now developing. All right, so you can put a D next to it. All right, so you can do this with me. Okay, what you're now going to do is you're going to draw that pencil, or this line here. So it doesn't matter that it's changed shape. But what I really want you to focus on, all right, is the angle. So you're not just drawing a line randomly across that box. Okay, what you're doing is you're looking that's about 1 centimetre. So my first line starts about 1 centimetre. So I'll judge it correctly, put a little line. Okay. And it's just shorter than a centimetre there. So I'm going to put another line here. Now what you can do is, because these lines are very straight, because it's a pencil, if you've got a ruler, okay, you can now draw a line, okay, right the way across. All right, like that. Now that shape there is your negative shape. I'll just give you a couple of seconds to do that for those that have watched and now are doing it. What I now want you to do is look at the angles. So do you think that that angle is correct? All right, do you think that that is 100% accurate? All right, to this shape, because we're only drawing the simple shapes. Now, what's unusual is, I appreciate that if you wanted to draw in those pencils, you'd probably find 4 lines really easy. But the thing is, you'd then struggle with proportion, because you'd probably draw a pencil there and a pencil there. The negative shapes help you with proportion. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the distance from there to there, and I'm going to match it. So I'm going to look at that and think, well, that's just over halfway of what I've just drawn. Okay, so probably looking at about that much. So I'm going to now draw a line there. Because I've now got to put the pencil line in. Now this is now a parallel line. Okay, so for those of you that aren't aware of parallel lines, they're lines that never ever meet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to draw this in. Okay, I'm just going to match my rule with that top line and carefully moving it down, keeping it as straight as I can. Right, and okay, I'll now draw a line across. Right, now I've drawn the top of this next negative shape. All right, so what we're now going to do is we're going to I'm going to start from the bottom. So I'm going to look at how much I think this distance is here. So I'd say it's about 1.5 centimetres. Okay, so I'm going to start that about here. I'd rather you didn't measure it. I want you to try and use your spatial awareness for this. Okay, so I'll put a dot here. And now, looking at this next gap here, from there to that is about 1 centimetre again. Okay, and I can get my ruler and now draw in the bottom, okay, of that pencil. Okay, now there's one mistake that I've made there. That's why I just paused, and that's because I looked at this distance here, and I looked at this distance here. Okay, so it's easy, even for an experienced teacher and drawer like myself, it's easy to make mistakes. Okay, so we'll just rub that line out. Hopefully you guys have got it all right. Okay, but I know where the top goes, so I'm going to leave that line in, all right? And because that helps me measure the next bit, all right? So I've just forgotten to do this, this bit here. Okay, there and there. So I look at how big that is. That's just over 5 millimeters. Okay, and now I can draw in that line. Okay, so now I can see whether I've actually made that shape 100% accurate, or do we think that maybe I should have just done that diagonal line there? Okay, let's just see how we get on. All right, so what I'm now going to do is I need to do a parallel line because this pen was a bit thinner. Okay, and I've got my next pen, the bottom of the negative shape in place. Okay, so now I've got to look, is this negative shape the same as this one? Is this one the same as this one? And is this one the same as this one? All right, so we can see here that this one is just a slightly bit smaller. So maybe what I should do is go up and make it a little bit more angular. But for the sake of this and the developing task, we'll find out that this is negative shape number 1, this is negative shape number 2, and this is negative shape number 3. Okay, now what you can do is, if you're happy with that, okay, hopefully yours will be 100% accurate. Okay, if you're happy with that, then you can draw in, okay, your negative shapes. Okay, we've also got a bit of foreshortening going on here with the camera. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to do box number 2, okay, which will go a bit quicker, and this one is now going to be medium. So what I want you to do now is, you've got your 2 objects, we're going to rearrange them slightly. So we're all going to do each task. Okay, but this time I want you to try and find a more complicated image, something that's also got a negative shape inside of it. So this pen is absolutely perfect, because can you see that negative shape there? Okay, so we have now got, if I put this one into my viewfinder, okay, we have now got how many negative shapes? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, I'm not going to guide you through it quite as much as I did the first time. Okay, I'm going to do it and you're going to do it alongside of me, but I'm not going to talk. So what I want you to do now, if you haven't already done so, is put your additional object in that's also got a negative shape inside of it. I'll come around and have a little look to make sure that you've got one of those things. Okay, and now what I want you to do is start putting in your negative shapes. Okay, and if you're still a little bit unsure, you can watch how I do it. This time I'm going to do it with that ruler. I've actually just spotted there an extra negative shape just at the top of the pen lid. And again, found another one. They are hard to miss. They are easy to miss, apologies. Okay, so that there, okay, is my meeting. Oh, you don't need to write the numbers in like me, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, so as I've actually looked a lot closer at it, I've seen a few more negative shapes. So just make sure before we move on, make sure, right, that you have actually got all of your negative shapes in. Okay. Make sure you've spotted them all. Okay. Now what we're going to do, all right, we are now going to do the exceeding task. Now there's 2 options for the exceeding task. All right, option number 1 is that you find a 4th object. Okay, something a little bit more complicated. I've only got pens. I'm trying to think about what you might have in your bag. Okay, if you've got something a little bit more imaginative that's also got holes in it, that would be fantastic. But the reason why I've chosen this to add into it is because you've got all those negative shapes and changes of shape around here. So option number 1, okay, is to put in your objects, because I want you to try and find at least, or have inside of your viewfinder this time. Okay, I want you to try and complicate it a little bit by joining things together. I want you to try and find at least 10 or have 10 negative shapes in your viewfinder, all right, to build up proportions. So you're going to have to take your time with this one. So here, looking at this properly this time, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 shapes there. So I need to try and work out how I can get 10. I'll move this one down. Bit of a cheat, but it doesn't matter. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so if I just keep bringing these down so that I can try and work it out. So I've got more. Right, and I think I've got 9 there. So I'm going to stop there because I want you to take your time to try and get 10 negative shapes inside of your object. All right. The other option is, so for those of you that 100% understand this task, okay, is to try and get as many negative shapes in your object, in your viewfinder as you possibly can. But this time, okay, we're not going to do it the same size as the viewfinder. I want you to draw around the edge of the viewfinder. So exceeding, we're going to have another little go. Okay, but this is everybody. Everybody's going to have a go at this task. All right, so you've developing students. I will come around and I'll support you if I feel that you've got this bit a slightly bit wrong. You need a little bit more time to work on it. All right, but I do want you to have a go at trying to do the meeting, all right, where you're complicating it with another object. If you've really struggled with that, you can always redraw that one in here. Okay, or if you want to try and try the exceeding task by putting another object in and trying to find 10 negative shapes to draw, brilliant. Okay, however, those of you that have 100% understood it, all right, well done. And it does take time, so don't feel disheartened. Okay, what you're now going to do is you will have on your page your 4 objects, and I'm going to do this really, really quickly. Okay, you don't need to worry about having 10 negative shapes in there. All right, and the reason why I'm not worrying too much about that is because you're now going to enlarge it. All right, you're going to enlarge this into that shape there, into this box here. All right, but you're also going to add in your negative points, your negative shapes. So have a go now. Again, I will do it alongside of you. So best thing to do with this one is to work out where your halfway point is. Okay, so you can mark that. That way, all right, makes it a little bit easier for you. And if you wanted to, with a pencil, if it makes it a bit easier as well, put your halfway on there too. And some of you will have a grid, so it makes it a bit easier for you, all right? So halfway, I'm going to start with that first negative shape that literally touches halfway. Remember, you're not drawing the positive shape, you're drawing the negative shapes. Okay, what happens is if you get these negative shapes in correctly, you actually start to draw the positive shapes without realizing. Okay, so what I want you to do is carry on with that. Right, try and practice all of your negative shapes. If you finish this one, you can move on to this one and try and find your 10 negative shapes, which is quite hard. All right, well done. Keep working.